Tar is a 2022 movie that's directed, written, and produced by Todd Field. Field is most well known for directing, writing, and producing a 2006 movie called Little Children that stars Patrick Wilson, Kate Winslet, and Jennifer Connelly. It's one of the best movies of 2006. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen. I recommend watching that movie. This movie, Tar, stars Cate Blanchett, one of the most reputable, talented, hard-working actors of our generation, starring in such films as Notes on a Scandal, Carol, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Babel, and earning 2 Oscar wins for The Aviator and Blue Jasmine. To date, she has 7 Oscar nominations and those 2 wins. Without a doubt, this will be her 8th Oscar nomination. I think she's in the driver's seat to secure her 3rd win. She stars as Lydia Tar. Lydia is a symphony conductor who is attempting to do a live recording of Gustav Mahler's Symphony No. 5, which apparently is a pretty big deal. I don't know. I'm not in that world. This is based on a fictional character. It feels very much like a biopic, more so than any other movie that I've seen in recent years that is based on a fictional character. Lydia is, for the first 15 minutes of this movie, it is an interview. She's being interviewed in kind of like inside the actor's studio sort of thing, in front of a live audience, where the interviewer is kind of just saying, "Oh, Lydia, you have all of these accomplishments. You're great." And Lydia's saying, "I have all these accomplishments. I'm great." She's won the coveted EGOT, which stands for she's won an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony. And what she's trying to do now is to do this fabulous thing over with in Europe with one of the symphonies there. And what we learn about Lydia is she is very controlling in her life. She has a lot of things going for her. She's very well off to do in her profession. She's very philanthropic, but she donates causes that mean something to her. And you'll never see her donate anonymously. She is a mom. She's a pretty good mom, it seems like, but she's very domineering in that regard. She has a wife. She has assistants. She teaches at Juilliard. She has coworkers. Everything she does feels very transactional. As we get to know her, as we see her influence, as we see how fantastic she is at her profession, we learn a little bit about her, specifically that she had an affair with one of her proteges in recent years, and that person ends up committing suicide after Lydia kind of torpedoes her career after that affair ends. We learn that Lydia then tries to cover up all of that by deleting emails and communications, getting her assistant to kind of do the same thing. There is definitely a predatory type of behavior here. This movie follows the cancel culture, the Me Too movement. I'm going to refer to it as the call out culture movement because I think that just has a different take on it and a terminology that I want to use over those other two in this particular setting for this particular review. So what that basically means is just the things that we've seen in Hollywood in recent years, particularly in the movie industry or the television industry, are these people have done these things. They have used their influence to coerce or trick people into doing things that they didn't want to do. And now they're being boycotted, they're being shunned, whether it be in person, whether it be on social media, for what the unacceptable behavior that they've had. This movie, Tar, goes from being very slow-paced, meticulous, kind of like a turtle crawling step by step, because Lydia is very much in control for a huge part of this movie. When things start to unravel, when it is learned that this incident happened and people are kind of putting those pieces together into the 3rd act, is when this movie kind of really starts accelerating. And it felt kind of maddening at a while to me because it felt like it was going way too slow. And then all of a sudden we're trying to rush to the finish line. And I realized afterwards that that was probably what Field was going for. When she was in control, everything was methodic, everything was paced, everything went the way that she wanted to. When things start spiraling, when things that she was in control of no longer were things that she was in control of, everything started going at a much faster pace. It wasn't weird. It was just, it was maddening. It was, okay, let's slow down. And I realized that wasn't what he was going for. So it's a movie that I've appreciated far more after the fact, after I've done a little bit of research, after I've thought about it, and I have thought about it a lot, than I did when I saw it. And when it ended, I was kind of a little bit frustrated, if anything else. This movie is scored a 92% and a 71% for audience and, for critics and audiences on Rotten Tomatoes. It has an 8.2 IMDb score. I gave it an 87% out of 100. I thought that it was really great acting. I thought that what Field was going for with not being reprimanding, society or culture, but also not letting anyone off the hook. It was kind of like, okay, I'm putting this out there, and I want you to be able to figure out your place or consider where you are in this 2022 environment with these 2022 issues revolving around the plot of this movie. Blanchett was fantastic as always. I do think that she probably does win her third Oscar. Definitely will be nominated for her 8th Oscar. As I said, this movie was extremely timely and relevant. Field has 2 Oscar nominations for writing, adapted screenplay writing for little children, and then an earlier movie called In the Bedroom. I think he'll get a writing Oscar nomination for this film. I also think he has a good chance to get his first Best Director nomination. Each frame felt very deliberate. There was nothing that felt out of place or why is he doing this? And it was a film that was very, like I said, purposeful, even if the audience doesn't understand it until afterwards. Maybe that's the best type of movie. There's going to be a lot of comparisons to this movie and Whiplash because both of them have that conducting leader. Whiplash had J.K. Simmons. That one actually had Miles Teller in it too, so you had that back and forth between that conductor, that leader, and then that drummer just couldn't get it right. In this film, it is Cate Blanchett the whole time. We're with her the whole time. So you don't have that dynamic, which makes it a little bit more difficult to stay in touch with. Like, it is slow. There will be people that won't be able to make it past the first 15 minutes, that first interview. And then there will be people that can make it past that a little bit further. I think it's a harder movie to watch at home. I'm glad I saw it in the theater. The movies that I would compare it more to are movies like Black Swan, Take Shelter, and The Shining, where you have these characters that seemingly have things in control, seemingly have things as they want them, their place in the world, their place in their profession, whatever it happens to be. And then something happens and they descend into madness. Apocalypse Now is also a movie that kind of comes into that, my thought process as I think about it. So what I liked most about this movie was its acting, its character development of Blanchett. She's as good as always, and its universal relevance. I knocked a little bit hook and reel. It's just not going to wow anybody over right away. It's going to be tough to bring them in and to hold them. And I thought there were parts of the plot that could have been a little fine-tuned.